Everyone in the galaxy thinks we humans are strange, foolish. But truth be told, they think our biggest weakness is our heart. Meet Sergeant Brody. Brody was no high-born noble of the Central Vanguard fleets. Burned skin mapped his jawline from a plasma breach on the outer rim. Dark, hollow craters had under his eyes from holding the front lines for 4 consecutive days without reinforcement. His hands always, well, they shook a little whenever he unbuckled his empty rifle magazine. He was just a low-tier infantryman stationed at the Galactic Coalition's integrated border station, waiting for his name to be called from the assignment boards. Then, she walked right up to his station, bypassing the entire security line. It was Commander Visha of the elite Valeri Vanguard. Her body was towering, covered in deep, iridescent crimson scales that scraped together like rusted metal whenever she moved, and a wet, rhythmic clicking echoed from her mandibles. Her 4 eyes stared out like empty, bottomless pits, radiating a terrifying physical pressure that made the nearby alien officers drop to their knees in absolute panic. She stopped dead in front of Brody, tossing a heavy, golden cyber scroll onto his desk. "Human, you have been given a mate and he is mine." The alien woman smiled. Her mandibles flared open into a dangerous, confident grin. The Coalition High Council had just signed a forced genetic treaty, and out of thousands of candidates, she had claimed the scarred, grease-stained human soldier for herself. She expected him to look at her lethal armor and pale, razor-sharp talons and break down. She expected him to beg the High Council to rescind the order, crying for mercy like the other species did. The elite alien commanders in the gallery held their breath. Their minds were small. They only saw a death sentence. To them, Brody was a fragile toy to be broken by a dominant warlord. The sharp stench of ozone and ready-to-fire kinetic energy bit into the air, suffocating and heavy. But Brody didn't run. He didn't lower his gaze. He just sat there. Thick gray dust from the outer trenches still coated his heavy combat boots. His breath dragged heavy in his chest, but his gaze became, suddenly, perfectly solid as iron. He did not flinch. He took a slow, ragged breath, picked up the golden cyber scroll, tapped it against the desk with a loud metallic clang, and looked straight into her 4 dark eyes. He didn't look at her like an unstoppable monster. He looked up at the towering alien commander, shrugged his shoulders, and let his thin lips curve into a completely reckless, stubborn smake. He looked her dead in the eye and said, "Commander, your High Council can write down whatever names they want on a piece of metal, but a contract doesn't buy my fear. If you think you're getting a pet to parade around your court, you picked the wrong species. Humans don't bow to a title, and we don't cower when a force of nature claims us. We fight for the soul. You might have won the paperwork, but you've still got to earn the man." The royal guard behind her looked at each other, their hands shaking as they waited for an execution blow that never came. Alien logic shattered right there on the floor. They couldn't calculate the mathematics of a mortal human soul standing up to the deadliest Vanguard commander in the sector without blinking. They thought his human heart would fail under the weight of her claim. But Visha didn't draw her blade. Instead, her crimson scales rippled with a sudden, curious warmth, and she let out a genuine, booming laugh that shocked the entire sector station. She realized that for the first time in her long military life, she hadn't found another groveling subject to bow to her authority, but a partner whose spirit was just as unbreakable as her own. Later, the galaxy learned that the force pairing didn't break the human soldier. It created the most terrifying power couple in the Outer Rim. When a rogue dreadnought fleet ambushed the border station weeks later, Brody and Visha stood shoulder to shoulder on the command deck, his rifle roaring into the dark alongside her plasma cannons, proving that humans don't care how intimidating the arrangement is, they just find their footing and stand by the ones who earn their respect. The aliens still sit in their high towers, texting, trying to find the strategic logic behind why a supreme warlord would let a rough human grunt call the shots. But truth is, humans are just built different. The night is getting late. So, what do you think? We humans really are strange, aren't we?